Hello and welcome back to IDP Bets. Happy holidays, everybody, and happy week 15. It is the first week of fantasy playoffs. Good to have everyone back. My name is Johny the Greek. We've got an excellent guest for you this week. He is at Tacklebox Props on Twitter, director of betting for RPO Football. He is 51-13 on the season, which is absolutely ridiculous in the best way possible. Patrick, how are you, sir? And thank you for coming back.
I'm great. Glad to be back on for the third time this year and possibly the last, which is a little bit sad to think about, season winding down here, but hopefully we can pump out a few more winners this week.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And oh yeah, we'll be knocking on your door for next year too. No doubt about that. All righty. So just before we get into it tonight, just some quick reminders. These are not even suggestions. We're just discussing the bets we might be making personally. Set a limit and stick to it. For help with problem gambling, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Quick review. Last week, we were 5-2 overall. If we count Scott Bogman's Pittsburgh call, it's 6-2. So I'm counting it. 6-2 overall last week. So very good week. Let's keep it going here. We'll start with Mr. Patrick. What do you got for your first favorite IDP bet week 15?
First bet, I'm going to go with the most heavily juiced one that I'm taking here, and that's Josh Metellus over 4.5 tackles and assists. It's minus 150 on DraftKings and Bet365. Metellus has gone over this total in 11 of 13 games this season. And on top of that, he went over in all 17 games last year. In that time, over the past 2 years, he's played the Bears 3 times. Earlier this year, he had 7 tackles against them. And then last season, in the 2 games, he had 8 and 9 tackles. I guess we kind of classify Metellus as a safety, which is pretty loose classification there, but the Bears have allowed the 8th most tackles to the position this year to safeties at 14.3 per game. And then over the last 2 weeks, which coincides with Ivan Pace going on IR, Metellus's alignment has been pretty ideal. He's played around 30 box snaps in both games and 20 snaps in the slot in each of them. I don't really see any reason that won't continue against the Bears, who have also been running a lot more 3 wide receiver sets now that they have their new offensive coordinator and head coach, or interim, I should say. Obviously, the worry with this one is just how bad the Bears offense has been recently. But, I mean, with Metellus' history, I think this number is just too low, right? He's always in that 5 to 6 tackle range, it seems. So we're going to keep rolling with him. And I believe I picked him earlier this year on the show too and won. So why not keep on doing it? My model has Metellus projected at 5.8 tackles and going over this number around 76% of the time. So
yeah, it's pretty good setup, right? 76%. Yeah, we'll take that. It's better than the odds we're normally throwing out here. That's for sure. And great. Go ahead.
He's gone over in 28 out of his last 30 games. So I don't know. Maybe I'm getting duped by the books here with this line, but I'm still going to take a shot on it.
Yeah, looks real good. And I love what you said about the box and slot snaps, right? The sweet spot, right? Close to the line of scrimmage in the action makes it more likely for this to happen. So absolutely. Yep. Nice, beautiful start right there. Definitely like that. Alrighty, my first one for week 15, I'm going to go Cameron Heyward. And we were just talking about this before we hit record here. And this actually dropped to over 3.5 tackles. It was minus 120, I believe you were telling me.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
On Bet365, it was 120. Looks like DraftKings is minus 130.
Gotcha. Yeah, okay, that's still not too bad. So over 3.5 combined tackles for Cam Heyward, minus 120, 130, something like that. That's spectacular. So I wrote this whole thing up for 4.5 and the line dropped. So this is all even better than everything I wrote down. At 4.5, he had cleared that line 5 times this season and in the last 3 games consecutively. It's obviously a lot better than that if we're talking about over 3.5. And this week, Heyward gets a Philly offense that's allowing 19.5 defensive line tackles per game. That is third best overall across the league. And, with Saquon doing what he's been doing, that makes complete sense. I'd expect more of the same, especially when we look at Saquon's rushing line number this week, which is under 98.5 rush yards. That's absolutely crazy. So, really all this is to say is if Philly does what they normally do, then Heyward is going to be in a great position to clear this line in week 15. What's the model say on that for getting over 3.5?
Model looks really good on this one. I have him projected at 4.8 tackles, and it says he will go over 3.5 nearly 80% of the time. So it's a pretty good bet there. And just a couple other quick nuggets here that I was looking at while you were talking. Looks like the Eagles have allowed 17 interior defensive linemen to go over this total this year, and that's in 13 games. So more than one per game. And yeah, you said defensive line stats. I broke it down a little bit further to interior linemen, and Philly's also third to tackles allowed to them at 12 per game. So it seems like the perfect storm for Heyward this week.
Nice. Yeah, that's beautiful. It looks even better when you break it down like that. Yep. Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, it's all lining up good so far. Hopefully it works out.
Right.
All righty. Yeah, what do you got for number 2 for week 15?
All right, for my second one, I got Mack Wilson over 4.5 tackles and assists. It's -130 on Bet365 and -135 on MGM. Mack has only gone over this total 7 out of 13 games so far this year. But if we dig a little bit further into his numbers, we see that earlier in the year, he was playing a lot more snaps on the defensive line, which is not ideal for tackle numbers. But since the trade for Baron Browning for the Cardinals, he's moved back to playing more of a traditional linebacker role. This year, he's only faced 3 teams that are inside the top 10 for total tackles allowed to linebackers. In those 3 games, he went over in 2 out of 3, and his only under was in week 8 to Miami, where he had 4 tackles, but he actually played 44 of his 54 snaps on the defensive line. He now faces the Patriots this week, who have given up the second most tackles to linebackers per game at 19.3, and they've allowed 25 different linebackers to go over 4.5 against them this year through 13 games. Wilson typically only plays around 80 to 85% of the snaps, but in general, across the NFL this year, linebackers that have played at least 80% of the snaps in a game have gone over 4.5 tackles nearly 89% of the time. We get the benefit of the Arizona Stat Crew, which is the second most generous in the league for total tackles per opportunity on the year. My model has Wilson projected around 5.5 tackles and going over this number 72% of the time.
Nice. I love that. And the Arizona offense, I think, helps with this too, because they have not been great lately. And it's the same story with them every week. It's a million James Conner runs, some McBride, the occasional shot to Harrison Jr., but they're not going to put up 40 on the Patriots, right? It's going to be a close game. The run game is going to be involved on both sides, and that always helps linebacker tackles. So I think it's a good situation, definitely.
Yep. And I had Keisean White all primed and ready to go for this one too. And then shortly before the show started here, we got Wilson at 4.5, which seems a little light to me. And I also saw that the Keisean odds for his over were creeping up. They were like -140, where earlier in the day it was like even money. So we're going to switch gears and just go with Mack Wilson instead.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you on that because I was eyeing Keisean earlier today too. So yeah, it makes sense. Yep. Beautiful, good stuff there. Alrighty, so for my number 2, I'm gonna go Zach Baun. Although to be perfectly transparent, Dean looked pretty good as well. His price just wasn't as good, and he doesn't hit his line as consistently as Baun does. When I looked at these guys, but I'm gonna take Baun over 9.5 combined tackles at -115. He's cleared that line in 7 games this season already, and 3 of his last 4 as well. His opponent this week in Pittsburgh allows the most linebacker tackles in the game at 20.2 per week allowed. Pittsburgh is a top 10 rushing offense. They average just under 34 rushing attempts per game. So we know the opportunities are going to be there. We also know George Pickens is going to be out this week. So it wouldn't surprise me if Pittsburgh focuses more on the run game or, short passes to Jalen Warren or Freiermuth, etc. Either way you split it, Baun's going to be involved and it's going to be in his area. And this game has defensive struggle written all over it. So I think we're looking good for that. But what's the model say, and what do you think about that one?
I got Baun projected for 10.04 tackles and over this line 56% of the time. So it's tight, but Pittsburgh's also allowed 8 different linebackers to go over to get double-digit tackles against them this year. And like you said, they probably are going to have to try to force feed the run game with no Pickens this week. So everything sets up for Baun. And Baun's just one of those pure tackler guys, right? He just gets it seems like double-digit tackles every week. So
yeah, it's insane how much he's done it so far this year. It's been a legit IDP MVP coming out of nowhere.
For sure.
Nice. All righty. What about number 3? What do you got for number 3?
All right. For the last one, I am going to go with a cornerback here, which is always hit or miss for me, but I'm going to go with Tariq Woolen under 4.5 tackles and assists. That's minus 125 pretty much everywhere. DraftKings and Bet365 for sure. Woolen has gone under this number in 9 out of 11 games this season, and dating back to the start of last season, he's been under 4.5 tackles in 21 out of 27 games. Green Bay has allowed only the 25th most tackles to opposing cornerbacks this year at 12 per game. And in the last 2 weeks, they've only allowed 8 and 6 tackles respectively to opposing quarterbacks. In Green Bay's last 6 games, Jordan Love has only thrown the ball more than 30 times once. This only helped Woolen's argument as he only has 14 tackles against the run all year. He's not one of those guys that really wants to get in there and make run stops. Woolen did have 8 tackles last week, which is slightly concerning because it was not that great of a matchup for him against Arizona either. But I'm kind of looking at this as a buy high spot for Woolen's under, as we typically get a line of 3.5 for him. The Seattle stat crew has been pretty neutral this year, so I don't think they're really going to help or hurt us. But my model has them projected at 3.3 tackles and going under this total around 75% of the time. What's the quarterback guy think of Woolen?
Nice. Yeah, I mean, the Green Bay matchup does concern me if I'm thinking about my own cornerback production. I mean, Witherspoon will probably be fine. He always is. But Tariq, you're right. It's been the Josh Jacobs show lately after Love, made all those mistakes and turned it over so much like a month ago or whatever. They made a noticeable effort to dial it back with the shenanigans in Jordan Love. So, he's not throwing it as much. Yeah.
Right. And when he does, they don't have like a de facto number 1 receiver, really. When he does throw it, he's usually spreading it around. So I just don't see Woolen having a ton of opportunities to make 5 tackles to lose this one for us.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's a really high line to be under on. That works out good. Yeah. Nice. All right. Good stuff there. We got several corners this week. I got another one right now. I'm going to go Keisean Nixon over 4.5 combined tackles. This is at it. I have it at minus 155. You saw it somewhere else though, right?
Yeah. Let me check again. Looked like it had dropped a little bit.
Yeah, we'll take the better price so we can find
minus 135 on DraftKings. I'm seeing. So
nice. Yeah. Okay. Sweet. That definitely came down a little bit, so that's good news. Nixon over 4.5 combined at minus 135. He's cleared this line the last 2 weeks in a row and 7 times this season already. This week he's going up against Seattle. They allow the most cornerback tackles in the league at 15.6 per game. Seattle is also the third best passing attack in the league, and they are top 10 for wide receiver targets. Metcalf played last week. It looks like he's going to play again, so that helps. And then, it looks like Jair will not be playing this week. I was kind of leaning on that a little bit as the lesser of all evils, but we were talking about this before we hit record, and the consensus is that Nixon will still be involved enough to make this happen. So, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I got Nixon at 5.2 tackles over the number around 65% of the time. And yeah, I mean, Seattle has just been giving up a ton of tackles to corners this year. So plus you get the Javon Bullard's out. There's a possibility that Nixon moves to the slot some this game. I don't know who else would play there. So I think it seems like great over opportunity for Nixon this week. Plus Seattle's just I think going to have to throw the ball a ton against Green Bay.
Yep. No, I agree. Yep. Nice, good stuff there. All right. Do we have any bonus bets this week? And I'll preface this. We're looking at these this afternoon. We've talked about it recently. They slow drip the lines to us. It's not just they dump everything and we pick the best stuff. It's a couple here, a couple there, and maybe a nice one comes out 10 minutes before we hit record.
Right. Yeah, the only other bet that I guess it's two bets that I looked at playing here for the show were Nick Cross over 7.5 or Julian Blackmon over 5.5. Denver has given up the most tackles on the year to safeties at 16.3 per game. In Nick Cross's instance, they've allowed 10 different safeties to go over 7.5 tackles. And Nick Cross does it just about every week. I think he's done it in 10 out of 13 games this year, if I remember. And then Blackmon at 5.5. He's the deep guy there, so that one might be a little more touchy. But the Broncos have allowed 17 different safeties to go over 5.5 this year. So, and both of them were around even money. Looked like Nick Cross started to creep up a little, maybe minus 115. Blackmon was plus 100. So I don't know. I think there's a good chance both of them go over, but if not, I think one of the two for sure will go over this week against the Broncos. So plus the Colts offense is a train wreck. The Broncos defense is pretty good, and just have to assume another week where the Colts defense is on the field for 65 to 70 plays.
Oh, I definitely assume that. I took the under on Richardson's passing yards in a different podcast because, this is a scary good Denver defense. They are second in points per game allowed. They've got the better turnover differential. They're top 10 in interceptions. They're the best in interception touchdowns. They're a top 10 yards per game defense. They're the best at sacking the quarterback across the league. They're going to have Anthony Richardson in hell this week.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was leaning towards too. So
yeah, it's not gonna be a fun game for Colts fans.
Right. How about you? You got a bonus one?
Yeah. No, I love yours. I'm gonna go with another corner here, though. I'm gonna say Cam Taylor-Britt under 4.5 combined tackles at minus 150. So he's already been under this line in 7 games this season, and he's getting the Titans. They are the second worst across the league for allowing cornerback tackles at just 10.3 per game. Beyond that, Taylor-Britt was benched in week 11 against the Chargers after he got smoked for a long touchdown. His PFF score of 62.3 is just okay. He ranks 104th out of 213 eligible corners. He's anything but solid to begin with. He's up against a terrible passing attack. Tennessee is now the 4th worst in yards per game through the air. And they are 9th worst for wide receiver targets. So, it looks like it's going to be a slow day at the office for him. And then he's already been benched recently as well. So there's a chance that maybe, he gets smoked on a long touchdown or something and rides the pie in the second half. And we win this bet the old fashioned way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if DJ Turner was there, then he probably wouldn't be playing, but I don't know what it looked like last week. They started to mix in some Marco Wilson and DJ Ivy on defense at cornerback, but it wasn't at the expense of Taylor-Britt at all, but it might happen this week. Who knows? And then Tennessee, it looks like, have only allowed 11 total cornerbacks to go over 4.5 all year through 13 games. So not even averaging 1 per game. And there's almost always 3 on the field, right? 2.5 to 3 on the field. So seems like, another good one there.
Yeah.
Model.
Yeah.
Then I had the model, what did I say? 4.2, had them projected at 4.2. So that one's dicey, but it seems like maybe with the way the matchup's been recently, it's a little bit better than the 4.2 looks. So
yeah. Oh yeah. There's a reason why I saved it for the bonus. It's definitely dicey, but but it's got a shot.
Got to get our weekly under in there.
That's it. Beautiful. Well, good stuff, man. I appreciate it as always. We love having you on. The people love having you on. Before we get out of here, any announcements for the crowd? Are you doing anything in the off season, or are you just an in season cat? And where can the people find you?
I take the off season to rest. It gets stressful. I guess when you're winning at 80% clip, it's not as stressful as it could be. But yeah, playing with other people's money can be a stressful thing. So I like to take some downtime in the off season. And then, you can just find me on Twitter at TackleBoxProps. And then all my plays get posted in the RPO Discord. You can subscribe at RPOFootball.com. Other than that, that's the only place you see me, unless I'm on this show with you.
Nice. Well, we definitely appreciate that. And yes, the people should be taking advantage of that. 80%, man. That's absolutely, as someone that's now been doing this for, 15 weeks or whatever, this is not easy.
I'm with you. It is not as easy as it appears to look right now. So
yeah.
Hopefully we can keep it rolling.
That's it, man. Yep, we got some good setups this week, and that's the best we can ask for, right? After that, it's in the hands of the football gods.
Right on.
Awesome. Well, thank you, my friend. I appreciate it as always. And if we don't get you back for actual playoffs or, before the end of the year, we'll definitely circle back for next season. And before we get out of here, please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel for the other shows, the IDP show, the flagship IDP show podcast, the IDP after show, the IDP trade show, and IDP drafts. If you'd like to support the show, you can do so for just $5 a month over at theidpshow.com. We've got premium features for paid supporters that we know you'll enjoy. Follow us on Twitter at the IDP Show, all one word. Thank you for listening and good luck this week, everyone. Happy holidays, and we'll catch you same time, same place next week. Take care.